We are live apparently. So today we're going to just be designing UI. And if all we do today is just design it, that's good enough for me. But I don't expect that to take too long. But what I'd like to do is talk through the process a little bit, because I think that's kind of interesting. Because UI design, yes, it's a fun one. So the way I'm going to go and do it is I'm going to create... Oh, can I do it? Can I make a... Yeah, there we go, 16 by 9. Just a standard sized screen. And I'm going to imagine this is my screen. So I'm using Miro. Miro is really good. I'm not affiliated with them at all, but I just think it's a really good website / software thingy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and simulate the screen here. So we can look at what we have. I'll just show you what we're going to be trying to edit here. So if you've been watching the other streams, you'll know that I realized that it's very important for me to make a nice UI here. So far, we have something that's functional and works just fine, but we can do better. So you press play and you get your hero select. Then you choose which hero you want to play as. Then you choose which level you want to go to. And then you choose which faction you want to play against. And this is where already it's gotten a little bit overwhelming, too many clicks to get into a game, right? The brain is not going to like that. The brain is not going to enjoy clicking 5-6 times to get into a game, and then we choose our difficulty. What I would like to do is turn that into one screen. So the first thing I'm going to do, and yeah, so turning that into one screen, that's also a choice. Should it be one screen? Could we not separate that a bit? Should we choose our hero and then our level? The reason I would say one screen is because I would like for people to be able to press play and get straight into it, right? So they can just go, right, I want to play the game and we want it to be 2 clicks. So click and click, right? So we just get straight into the game. We get straight into the next, but if you wanted to change some things, you can change them, but if you're happy with the settings, you know that you can just go click, click. Okay. So what are the elements that we need for this? So yeah, sorry, once again, I'm going to open this. What are the elements we need? The first thing I'm going to do is basically, let's just write down each of the elements here. So we need character, so we need a back button. Let's just whack that in. And let's get the size of our basic button right, yeah? Show author, no, we don't need to show author. Okay. And I think that's about right for what our back button looks like. And I think that's a good place for it. Just top left, little backwards play button, we can exit. What I can do actually, just to really make sure we're getting our dimensions correct, is I'll just take a screenshot here. And again, Miro, lovely bit of software. Just copy paste that in nice and easily. So I can get, and then I can just really easily, I'm holding shift to keep the dimensions. And we've got a nice screen there. And I can say, so again, right click, bring to front. So it's on top of everything else. And yeah, that is the size of one of our buttons. So we can keep that over here for reference. And this is our back button. We could even just go ahead and grab that. So again, I can take a screenshot of that again and just put it there. So we can kind of better visualize it. But there's no need. I'm just trying to get the space right first. So yeah, it's not going to be choose your hero. So I really have left this to do today on stream because I think it's an interesting thing for anyone viewing. We want level. So yeah, let's write down what we need. Hero. In fact, let's not use stickies. There's another thing we can use called shapes. And if I just get a shape, and the good thing about shapes is you can make them how you want to make them. right? So we'll give it like a, yeah, that outline is fine. And I can just put some text in it. So I can say, and this way I can like resize it and we've got our space. So hero, stage, enemy, and difficulty. We also have another thing, which is that I want to make it so that we can have more than one allied faction, right? So I should, and this is going to be one of the unique selling points of this game, is that I can say, oh, I want to play as the orcs and the humans against the undead. Or I want to say, I want to play as the orcs, humans, and undead against the demons. And have any configuration of those. I can be any 1 to 3 characters. Oh, I just accidentally pressed play. I got music on the headphones just in case I want to listen to some music. So we need to think a little bit about like what's the best way to communicate that, right? So what if we said, okay, your hero is going to be up here, and while we're at it, we're going to sort of give you some information about the hero, right? So here will be our like button that you can press to choose a hero. Is that okay next to the back button? Should it be down here? Should the square sort of be inside here? I don't know. I'm figuring this out as I go. But it would be nice if we sort of saw a bit of information about the hero here. So we're really getting an idea of how they're going to play. So portrait size to match the shape of the hero. So they're going to be there, maybe doing their idle animation. I think that would be nice. It feels like they're alive and they're sort of waiting with us to start. Okay, and then we will have, so hero info. Let's put hero info. So if we could keep, so for example, we might have the three upgrades that the hero starts with up here, with a little explanation of each, right? So what that might look like is sort of, let's keep that button size, so it would be like weapon, armor, weapon, ally, talent, if applicable. And then maybe, like, do we really want all the information about the hero? Because we have that in the encyclopedia. I kind of think we do. I kind of think we do want all that information here. I don't know. If you're watching, even after the fact, please let me know. Do we want all that information here? So I'm going to say, yeah, let's. And then down here would be, like, information about the special. Description, which also contains the special. So yeah, like sort of some additional info. And then we've got this nice little box that is all about the hero. The stage is a fairly straightforward one. I kind of imagine in my head that this should be rather large to give you an idea of what's there. So we would give quite a bit of space to say this is the stage, and it would have like a visual to it, right? So we would have like the name up at the top left or something, right? The name of the stage plus like a big visual of the stage, and then you can press a button to change that stage. And then in each case you would be getting to a menu that looks similar to this. So if I click on my hero, I would go to this page. So we don't lose that. And then of course the header. So yeah, I think that is a good place for the header, and it also kind of keeps this line going. So let's put our header here. Tiny header over here. Come on. Another nice thing about Miro, you can just very easily change the size of a piece of text as long as there's some there. Here we are. Header. What will the header say? It will say, I don't know. Maybe there's not even a header needed, but it's character select. It's choose everything. Choose your everything. I don't know. We'll figure that out later. So we have hero, stage. Difficulty can really just be... difficulty can really just be a very small... Down at the bottom right, difficulty over here, and we've got... And maybe we can maintain this sort of button size, but maybe they could be... Let's make them half size, right? So we could take this, kind of half size it. So just roughly like that. And this would be 1. So we can already start to visualize how it will look. There's 5 difficulties intended so far. If we wanted to add more... Oh, there's another thing. Mutations. It's another form of difficulty modification. Mutations, if you're not familiar with this kind of game, would be kind of things that change the way the game plays fundamentally. So you could say something like, oh, there's no talents in this run, or double the enemies but double the XP, that kind of thing. Okay. And this is what it would look like. And we would need some text or symbol to make it clear. Is this going to move with those? No, sadly not. Some text or symbol to make it clear what this is. But let's just say it's a bit of text for now. Difficulty. Could it be a skull? Could it... Maybe the line difficulty should come above this little box, right? We could just grab that and shrink it. So it would look something like this. So there is where the player defines their difficulty. It will be the kind of last thing they think to do, and it will remember where it was before, which is a bit of coding there to do. Okay, so we have stage. Stage is very simple again. You click on it. Is it going to tell you anything about the stage? Yeah, maybe it will. We've got space for information about the stage. Then we have mutations. Mutations, I think, is sort of in line with difficulty. And we could have... So I know that in Monster Train, I think you can have there's a limit to how many mutations you could have, but you could potentially turn them all on. But we're not going to want to see all of the possible mutations that we have on this. But it would be nice to sort of show the first 3, and then if we click on it, so this would be a button. So we would have little icons showing the mutations, perhaps. But if you've got more than 3, it will just be like a ... And then you can click here to see all the mutations that you put on. And these two are like siblings, right? They live next to each other. Difficulty and mutations. And once again, we can keep with this style. So I'll just copy paste that. And pop it over here. And maybe they ought to be the other way around. So we could say something like this with, it would be like 1, 2, 3, and then if there's more than 3, the third one would be a ... something like that, and then that kind of looks nice. But it might be, maybe this should be here. I don't know. What do you think? If you're watching after the fact, tell me what I'm getting wrong here, if anything. So mutations, and we will say, random line there, and this would be like mut1, mut2, and then like a ... if you've got more than 2 set. And will it be clear that this is a button? Because we've got a bit of a ambiguity here. These will be buttons. These will be a switch. So I'll click this one and it will become highlighted, and then I'll click this one, it will become highlighted. That's very clearly telling me which difficulty I've chosen. And then this would be like, oh, okay, I can click on this. Well, no, really, I can click on this to actually open mutations. Maybe what it would look like is another button, like a plus symbol, right? So maybe it would look like this. So I think 3 is a good number of mutations to show, with the ... being the kind of third one. Like that. And then we would have a plus symbol here, which is clearly the button. Right? That's good enough. Okay. So yeah, we would have a plus symbol here, which is clearly the button to add more mutations. Okay, and those two sit nice and neatly in the bottom left corner. I think we can almost, kind of like when we're doing a puzzle, we can kind of say that's decided, that's set in stone. Okay, so we choose our hero. The hero will define our faction, but we've also got this other thing. So like, there's almost this thing of I am a hero. There's a hero, and then there's what the hero is doing, right? So on the right, we have what is the hero doing? The hero is doing a stage. So here's our hero. And then we could have... So there will be 4, maybe more, factions. There will be more factions in the future, but not many more. I would say at an absolute limit, it would be 8. And if we did more than 8, then we can redesign this UI. But let's design it in mind for 8. So we will have a similar setup as this, perhaps. We say allied faction. And maybe it's just like the difficulty. It's just like you toggle them on and off. Almost like, yeah, they're like toggles. So I would have, let's start to color code this. So this is white, green, blue. It's kind of like rarities. Blue, purple, and is that purple? Yeah, that's a better purple. And orange for legendary. I think it's red, in fact. Never mind. This is fine. We have visualized the color a bit. Mutations are going to be all kinds of multicolors. We haven't actually got them in the game yet, so this will be hidden by the time we've like in the next update. If you're watching this now, the next time you see it will be hidden. So we can say very clearly. I mean, we could really get in there and visualize this. Shall we do that? We could get the we could actually get the banners for the factions. No, I think color is fine. So. Human beans, green beans, black beans, and spicy beans, chili beans. I don't know. They're the demons. It's a bean-themed game. Why is it a bean-themed game? Because beans are easier to draw than humans. That's basically it. And then I just kind of thought that War Beans had a nice ring to it. It was going to be called War Bastard, but then I figured that's not really clear enough. War Beans is fine. I was kind of thinking about Brotato as well, and how sort of vegetables and whatnot are a good thing here. Okay, this is good. Let's put a little versus sign here for clarity, right? I'm just going to quickly close the door because I think I can hear my family giggling in the background, and you wouldn't want to hear a family giggling in the background. No, that would be disgusting. Okay, let's make that nice and big. Yeah, so that's nice, and it's a bit of visual flair, and I could even draw that in the same sort of style as the title. There's a nice big verses. I've actually only, for the first time, yeah, verses in cool, in a font. We like fonts. Okay. Versus. So yeah, that's kind of distracting. Let's. Yeah, that's good enough. So we have our hero and a description of our hero. with an in-depth description of each of their bits. So a description of their weapon, which will be kind of automated, which is nice. Description of their weapon, description of their ally, and a description of their talent. We don't actually need that much space for each of these. So we can really kind of make best use of the space. And let's color these up. So if humans are blue, greens are red. Does that make sense? Horde colors. Black beans are gray, but black will be fine. And oh yeah, no, here's how it was. So yeah, the green beans are indeed green. I think that's how I did it. And the demon beans are red. Okay? And so what it could be is kind of like a toggle. Does that make sense? I think that makes sense. Player versus level. That's universal, isn't it? Everyone understands that. Could these be the same size just to sort of have parity? Yeah. And so we've kind of got something here. Am I wrong? Am I right? Have I got something here? Is this any good? I'm not a UI designer. When I see job for UI designer, I don't apply for them because this isn't really my skill, nor is it my passion to design UIs. Ideally, I would have someone else do this. But, you know. This is right. This is right. Okay, now it seems that one's a bit shorter, actually. So we can just... I think this should... Yeah, this should match up. And then as long as this matches the bottom there. Another nice thing about Miro, the snapping is very intuitive. Enemy factions. So what I would be able to do, and it's very simple, I would be able to say, so if I've got a hero that is a human, I am locked into having human faction as an allied faction. And that would also have like a special thing because the faction that I am locked into, the faction of my main character, of my hero, will determine the pool of weapons, allies, and talents that I have access to. But I might have... In fact, how would that even work? I don't think I could play as multiple factions against another faction. I should know this, but I kind of figured like it could work, especially in a multiplayer scenario. But maybe there's some universe where I would be playing as a human, but I would have access to both the human and the undead stuff. No, I don't think that works. Well, this is still fine. So we choose our allied faction, and then when it comes to the enemy, and let's just make that singular for now, because we're not going to do this yet. But I think it would be nice if in the future we could choose more than one enemy faction. So I would have, and maybe I would choose more than one hero as well. So rather than being... I would like select enemy heroes. No, okay, I think this is fine. So I choose my allied faction, similar to how I would choose the difficulty. It's a bunch of toggles. So I would go, and that would be determined by my hero. So we could even hide this to begin with. And then we would have a stage, and then we choose our enemy faction. What other elements do we need? We have our ability to sort of... Yeah, have more if and when we need them. We can choose our mutations. We can choose our difficulty. What are we missing? I think that's it. So this turned out to be pretty damn straightforward, I think. We can choose everything on one. Oh, big one to remember is like the play button. So let's put this over here. Let's align this with this side. And let's put a big go button in the middle. Yeah, so we can pick our enemy faction, we can pick our allied faction, and it will sort of, this will be informational to begin with, but later could become more of a feature. Like, for example, we could have another allied hero running around. How would we choose who the allied hero is? Maybe we wouldn't. But maybe we wouldn't have another allied hero. But just similar to the way that enemies spawn, we would be spawning. Let's say I wanted to be humans and green beans versus black beans, which would be like a story that would actually happen in the story. Humans and greens versus blacks and spices would that would be like a. It would just these would just spawn as if they're enemies. So if I'm playing as the green beans, the humans would spawn in just as if they were enemies, and scale up as if they were enemies. And same with the enemy faction. So we could choose multiple enemy factions, toggle them on and off, but we can't choose a faction. We can't have one on both sides yet. We could have that later. We would have to reskin them. I don't really have the time to do that now. But for now, this is fine. We choose our enemy faction. Our allied faction will be determined by which hero we choose. And then we can choose mutations, which of course won't appear yet, and difficulties. So to begin with, that works for me. I think it's clear. My character versus that level with that enemy faction, and it will work. It will be kind of future-proof because we should be able to edit these, and we won't have to throw all of our previous work away. Okay, I think that's good. So what is it? With 25 minutes, we've designed it, and I think we've done it carefully, and we've sort of considered every possible outcome, and done a little bit to future-proof it. So the first thing we want to do is go into this scene. And so we will press play and we will get this hero button. Okay, so what do we have? Do we already have a hero button, I wonder? Hero button, we do. So what we want to do is just... but this is... We have to think about this. So yeah, we don't need a prefab for this because there's only going to be one. But let's use the prefab for our basic button, which is option button. We don't want to be in this prefab. We want to be in character select. So we have entered character select, and we are looking at sort of the root menu. So this will all be different. So we have our header. We have our button to choose our hero. So I'm going to take this and move it to the side. So if you want to work along with me, you can screen cap that. And we want standard button. Just to get an idea of space. So I'm just going to arrange these a bit. Going to take this one as well, get 3 of these buttons and arrange them how we're going to have them arranged. 130 is the number of the space between buttons. 130, is that right? So that doesn't make sense. That was just a coincidence that worked. So 130. So it will start at 260. I mean, we're gonna change all of this, but I just want to get the positioning right. And then we've got another one below that. So yeah, let's get this where it ought to be. I think that's actually a good spot. 300. Just use round numbers. 170. I think it's more than that one. Yeah, and then 0. So it's jumping 150 each time. No, I'm sure it was... Okay, never mind then. So we should actually have a nice space there of minus 5. Yeah, so this should be 160. Was that the magic number? So 300 to 140. And then this would be minus 20. And then this would be, let's anchor this. No, they should all be anchored if that one's anchored. Never mind. So this would also be 300, except we're gonna radically change the size. So let's do, and this is gonna be about the scale of a hero, which I think is like, so if it's, yeah, we want it nice and big because we want it to be clear. And if it's, yeah, like 300 by 360 seems about right. For the dimensions of the hero. With little bits of text here. And these would be color coded. So let's go ahead and color code them. I don't have the exact colors in front of me. That's a bit of a pain to do, but I can say button image is this sort of, if it's a weapon, it's this sort of color. If it's an ally, it's this sort of color. And if it's talent, it's a sort of green. And with the explanations off to the right. So we've got the name, but we would also have, I will make a prefab specifically for this, just so that I edit one and they all take the edit. I don't know if that's really necessary. I don't know if that really is a time save, but yeah, it might be worthwhile. And then we have, so we have text, and let's make the text as part of that. I guess what we would want is to anchor it, pivot on, no, pivot of this would be 0 and 1. So if we said 10 and minus 10, that should fit. Yeah. We could say this weapon, a basic melee weapon, and that's nice, the spacing there. And that would exist for each of these. And then we would have our big one. And again, let's just nest it in here. And this would be a piece of text that would be anchored to the bottom. So this would be like minus 10. And let's say it's anchored to the bottom left. This would be 10. Just so we have some consistency there. And then we have the sort of description for the hero itself, which also contains what their special ability does. And all of this, I think, so let's call that hero panel. Should be without a space, I think, because reasons. And let's pop these inside. And then we can move this hero panel as we please. And let's get our big versus text in. I think versus works in every language, doesn't it? I don't think you need to translate this one. And Is that an okay font? I think that's an okay font. If I wanted to change it, I would probably just do a completely custom drawing of what I think a versus sign looks like. Can we see gizmos, please? I just want to make sure. Just want to make sure there's not much overlap there. Yeah, so if that's like that, I guess this square can be about the same width as the button itself. Okay, we've only got one so far, right? Yeah, so this can be 150, like that. It's about the same width. And so this piece would need to just be a little bit more off to the left. And we can give it, no, we shouldn't give it a round number because it's not really centered yet. So I think that's fine. Just want to make sure this square doesn't overlap with the verses. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's all right. It's all right. It's not beautiful, but we're getting there. It's a start. And then we would have a big old button. Stage panel, enemy panel, doesn't really matter, but we've copied that. And yeah, I'm doing this in a very weird and roundabout way, but that's fine. So the enemy panel, let's just pop that in the middle. No, let's keep the height, but pop it out the middle. We can always unnest these things, just getting the sort of position right. So we have a big old button that is going to be like the stage. Yeah, let's say 500. Got a big old button that kind of matches that. And we can have actually this description below works just fine. We could sort of make it match the, and then we can have a description of the level, which isn't super necessary, but it's still nice just for parity as well. So this can be kind of the same height. We choose a hero. We choose, and these will have to be sure that they don't look like buttons. So we choose a hero, and we choose an enemy. We choose a level, and then we'll have our little faction panels. And I think they did look nice in panels, and I think these would look nice in panels too. So let's make a panel. Let's give it, oh God, what did I, panel. Plain panel. Spain panel. Spanel. Let's go with this look because I think it's sort of made to be a little bit wide. Of course, we can change this. So if we have a panel, not stretchy one, a given size, and it's nice and short. And let's do the difficulty one to begin with. So inside this panel, and we can do something like, let's make the size half. And we can, just so that when we put something in there, so when we put an option button in there, it will be automatically kind of scaled down. And within this panel, I think we should go ahead and do our anchoring properly. This is fine. So position Y is 0, makes it nice and tidy. And the first position X is 100. And we will need 5 of these. So there will be 150, is that? No, 160? I think 160 is good. I think that's our number, 160. Why is that not? Suddenly not good enough. Okay, yeah, 160. 270. I think we'll kind of have to do it by eye a bit. 270. I love that phrase, do it by eye. I don't think it's like a real phrase, but I remember I watched a YouTube tutorial a long time ago on how to make a walk cycle, and it was done by this kind of like south of like a Southern American, not South American, but south of like a Southern North American, teaching me how to do a walk cycle, which I thought was funny because it's not the accent you would expect from someone who's teaching you to do a walk cycle. He was like, well, I just kind of do it by eye. I just always thought that was a bit funny. So I kind of kept the phrase, do it by eye rather than measuring it. Okay, and then this would be like anchored to the bottom right. So the pivot is 1, bottom of the anchor is 2, so that puts the, it's like a 1 there is 100%, 0 being 0%. And so this will be exactly, the bottom right corner will be exactly 100 from the right and 100 from the bottom. And that means that if we change resolution, it still works. Okay, there's our difficulty buttons. And so we don't need, so we can start deleting things now. We don't need our difficulty buttons transformed, but I will take these because they already have the things. Should I do that? No, I'll just double check. Really? Oh, is it text? Oh, that's interesting. I did use text. Okay. So let's just make these difficulty buttons. Maybe I should make a prefab, but I just really don't see it coming up again. If I can just sort it out now, it will work. So in each case, I probably should have done the first one and then copied it along, but I will do it how I do it. This is all switched off. Just switched off. We don't need it. And then the text actually will be, in each case, will be centralized. The pivot in the middle. 0, 0. No, that's not right. Pivot should be in the middle. Ah, because the text should also be in the middle. And the text should be a lot larger. Like filling up the thing. Why does it feel like it's... Why does it feel like it's not centered? Right, it feels like it's not centered. I think I can just bump it up. So 132 seems like a good number. And we can go in and I will just caps lock. I rarely ever use caps lock. I always use shift, but this is one of those situations where caps lock is good. Ah, now we know the font needs to be a bit smaller. So again, we'll grab all of these. This is not the best way to do it, but this is just, I'm just doing it as I see fit. So that seems about right so that it will work on any system. And why is it not quite in the center? It should be right in the center, but I think that is an issue. And a little bit to the left as well, right? Is that just me? Can I go have a look? What is going on here? Yeah, so it is indeed taking up the whole thing, we can, for starters, we can say, we can do that so that they're all homogeneous, 130. But that's not going to make a difference. And it just seems like they're all a little bit down and to the left. But I do think that's an issue with the font, because they are, as we could see, they are dead in the center, anchored to the middle. So I think what we want to do is just cheat and move that along. Not 5. 5 is too much. Move that along 3. And move it up by, is it 3 again? 3 again would be nice. No, 5. Okay. And then we never look at it again, because that bothers me. Why aren't they 0? I don't know. But I don't care anymore. There we choose our difficulty. And one thing we can do, I don't know where I got these colors from, but these are the correct colors. We have our button image. Because I've got the first one selected. And we just want to copy these colors over to over here, just so the color is exactly right. And then later, of course, I may do a full overhaul on what all of these colors are, but for now they'll stay the same. So let's grab each of them one by one. Image, no, button image, copy. In the script, I do have like rarities stored. Like the color for each rarity is stored somewhere. But we're not coloring these at runtime in script, we're coloring it in Unity. Maybe to make it easier to change all the colors, I should have it just, oh well no, when this opens up, set the buttons to the color that they should be. But that's kind of more trouble than it's worth. There we are. That would be difficulty 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We will change this background panel to something a bit prettier. And there's difficulty. We do not need to worry about mutations yet, because that is not a feature in the game. So what we will, but we know that when we do, there's space for it. Okay. And of course, we need to do better graphics for these. But I think this is a nice panel for character. But should we give them a panel? As in a background that they can look at. So this is difficulty panel. If I can learn how to type. There we go, difficulty panel over here. Hero, enemy, difficulty. This is not the random hero button, this is the random button because it applies to several of them. And then so we've got this one I can delete. But this will be what opens when you click on this. This we don't need because the factions will be, although I'll just keep that there so I've got a view of the buttons. In fact, I will. Oh no, I generate that at runtime. Okay. So let's copy this. I'm just getting kind of the easy bits out of the way first. So let's get the faction panel. Before I do that, let's name this. And I'll put it inside just so it's neat and tidy. And so this will go, putting the anchor at the bottom left. Make the size something more reasonable. So if that's 100, this should be 50. I think that's fair. There's some sort of symmetry there. I don't know if that's useful at all. As I said, I'm not a UI designer. Why would that be minus? Why on earth would that be minus? Are you in the difficulty panel? Yeah. So why, if you're in the difficulty panel, I would think that would be 0. Okay, yeah, I see. It's the height and the width. So the bottom, so that would be at the bottom. And let's say to the right side. And the width would be, we can actually make it stretch to be the exact size, but I don't see the point. In this case, the pivot would be in the middle if we want to just make this nice and neat, so that as long as this matches 460, that looks fine, and it will say difficulty. That'll need translating, which is a bit annoying. Maybe we should have a symbol for difficulty, but I don't think a skull is necessarily our symbol for difficulty. And I wonder if, how should this be aligned? Wait, shouldn't that be 0? Let's put it here. Like that, and then the width. Okay. We're all still learning. We're all still learning. You never know everything. 420. 0, but not 0. About 5. 10. 10. Okay. Is that good? Is that clear? Is that on brand? Is that good enough without being too complicated? Yeah, I think so. Difficulty. You choose one, and then it will just be like have the animation of having been pressed once whichever difficulty you have on, and it's easy to pick. And of course, you only have access to the first 2, and you'll have to unlock the second one. So that's there. That's not moving. That's the first piece of the puzzle. So when it comes to designing UI, I think it is very much like doing a puzzle. You kind of start with the things that you know are going in the spot, and you put them there, and then everything else can kind of move around it. Again, I'm not saying I'm the best UI designer in the world, but that's why I need heuristics like this. Panel header. Okay. And because this is static, this isn't going to be like generated at runtime. I should just name them. I should just go ahead and name them. So that's fun. There we are. Difficulty panel. Easy, done, fixed, sorted, good. Mutation will go next to it, but we don't need that yet. Enemy panel. So I'm quite keen to actually change the way this button looks. So this is the stage button. Should we just ditch this panel thing? Yeah, let's ditch this panel thing. No, actually, what do we think? Let's try it with a panel. So enemy panel. No, we need to make an actual panel. UI panel, and we will put our stage button in there once it's done, and our panel again will use this one will do for now. So we set the pivot to not be stretch, and we just make it the shape that we want it to be. That's a good height. I think having it having the center of it in the center of the screen kind of works, or should it be like a sort of neat 50 up? I want it to be below this button. So yeah, the center plus 50. There's a bit of dead space here, but I don't mind a little bit of dead space. Having dead space, people talk about that in design, so let's discuss that. Like, is dead space ever a good idea? I think of course it is. Dead space is like if you have dead space, it makes you feel like there was room for more, but we didn't add it because we're keeping things simple. It's a bit more friendly. So let's get some nice numbers for these. Width and height, okay? Like 500 by 700. Like that is our space to work with for each of these features. 600 by 700. Doesn't that feel like... Yeah, the power of the shape of the beveled edges. It makes it look like it's much taller than it is wide, but it's actually almost as tall as it is wide. Shall we try... Oh, maybe that one. Plain panel. Doesn't that look beautiful? Game over panel. Okay, and so we will put our stage button in there. And then actually we don't have to have this here. So this is stage description text. And this is our stage button. And is this the right... I'm looking at the wrong thing here. Is this the right image? We're going to have to make a new image, I think, for like a sort of larger button. Yeah, so we have panel. We have this kind of fairly consistent visual language for what constitutes a button, which is that it has this kind of shading on the outside. So we'll keep that, but I will have to basically redraw that. But let's use it for now. So we have our stage button. And let's anchor it to the middle with the pivot in the middle so that the X position can be 0. And it's in the middle. Is that in the middle? Yeah, close enough. So then the width would be like using the full width. Position would be 20 from the top. Sometimes you get that weird number. Oh, this is the one that can really mess with you. Sometimes you put something in and the Z position will be something else. Look out for that, because that will make it appear the wrong size. Okay. And then we've got our stage description text, which can be in off black. Off black is 0.2, 0.2, 0.2. Never go full black or white, because it's just easier on the eyes if it's just slightly off black and slightly off white whenever you want either of those. And so this would be starting from... The thing is, the descriptions for the stages are never going to be that long. Let's think about this. So we have, and let's just kind of really make this nice and tidy. So the width is, the position from the left is 50. No, it should be anchored from the top, with the anchor in the middle. And the position is 0 on the X. And over here, minus 400 is fine. And it can be a bit wider. 500. That will be our description for the level. And then what we want for our faction select will be very similar to what we've done with difficulty. So we'll pop that in there. So this will be our enemy panel. This is not difficulty, this is faction. There will be 4 of them. There might be more of them. And we can actually choose more than one faction here. But never one that's on the left side. So there's going to be some fun coding to kind of sort that out. Okay. Yeah, unfortunately we can't really see it. Should we change this image? So panel. Yeah, level up panel looks a bit tidier. Let's do that for this one too. Yeah, already that looks a bit nicer. Okay. And what we want here is to ask about the faction. And this will just be orcs by default. This will just be green beans by default at all times, unless you pick the green beans, in which case it would default to humans. So it would always default to the first on the list, but then once you select something, and I think it would be selecting something on the left would affect something on the right, and it would preclude. So if I've selected humans, I can't select humans as an enemy faction. But then if I change this one, that becomes... like the left one would affect the right one, basically. Okay, and let's do off black. Okay. This is already like, again, I'm not great at this. So we do not need the text on this. So let's just delete that. We will want the image. Okay, and then we're kind of committing to the sprite for the stage will be about this ratio rather than being a square. So we would have our name, the planes, and we'd have our picture of the planes, which will probably, I'll just take a picture of it in game and just use that as the sprite. And then we have... You know what, it's 2 o'clock. I'm going to take a 5-minute break and go to the toilet. So I will be back shortly. Okay, apologies for the delay there. I'm back. Oh, I don't need these. Force of habit, muscle memory. I do most of what I do on muscle memory, which is means I do stupid things a lot. Okay, so we want to see our enemy faction, and at the moment I have only planned 4 factions for the game. Will we have more factions? Like, what we could have is another faction that would be like a catch for other factions. But I don't see that happening soon. So this UI, yeah, I mean, I'm not loving it. It doesn't look super pretty, but the idea is this is the best UI that I can make that just communicates the information clearly and has a consistent style. So let's go ahead and difficulty panel. So this would be the enemy faction panel. The header will say enemy faction already, and actually we will have 4 buttons, and we will actually go ahead name them and sort out the text in each case, although we don't need text. No, let's not use text. Let's not use text. Let's go the opposite direction of the difficulty button. So we won't use text. We will use an image. That image will be aligned to the center. And in a way, it's actually easier to just do it at runtime, but I want to visualize this. So I don't think I even actually have. I think I'll just get it manually. The sprite for the faction. And the sprite for the human faction is one of the human weapons. We could either go with the shield. I wonder if the shield should be the human's kind of faction image. That doesn't look good. Or the banner. I think actually the shield looks better. Just this a bit small. And then the one for the orcs, the green beans, is one of their characters, which is the totem. And it's not a level 1, 3 or 4 totem, it's a level 2 totem. And that does actually kind of fit. Why does it look so blurry? Why does it look so blurry? Huh. Okay, fine. That shouldn't look that blurry. Huh. Okay, well there's a problem we spotted already. We can do something where we just keep the canvas size the same. Yeah, I think we do canvas scaling, but what I would like is for this to still work when we are on super wide. Which is sort of easier said than done. Okay. Meaning... yeah, at least like the if we're on super wide, this kind of fits in there. I think the easiest way to solve this actually would be to have... no, that still kind of feels too off. What I would want actually is just for like this... I mean, maybe it should be a new canvas altogether. That this would just kind of scale, but that everything in it would also scale, which starts to get rather complicated. So we would say, make it look like that. So we do it, make it a stretch, and then when we crunch it, it looks like that. See, that's not what I want really. There are better ways to do this. I mean, what I could do... Huh. You would think that if we just kind of left it unanchored like that, then going to the wider one would mean... So this is a tricky one, is how to make your UI work for both screen setups. And of course, some crazy person might have this screen set up still. That's easier to manage for. But then we go to 21:9, and these things that are supposed to be... I mean, very, very easy solution is this. I feel like it's maybe cheating, but actually it might be just the one. We just go like that. 20. And then when we go back to 16:9, it's still in a spot that kind of looks reasonable. I think that works. Okay. So we will have another panel. I'll just copy this, empty it, and move it roughly over here. And we will take all of our bits. Basically everything that's in here should go in here. Like that. This should go above this hero panel. And what I would like is for it to just kind of fit. Why does it feel off center? So we have our enemy panel with our pieces all nicely like arranged in it. So this can be moved around at will, and we can say that is 600 to make it a nice round number. And on the left side, minus 600. So these are perfectly even. Except I kind of want it to be a bit, like, I don't want to have to compromise on the size that much. Like I want it to be wider, but then I kind of like this parity here. I like this balance. I like that this one and this one are sort of the same size. We've got who am I, and where am I going, and who am I fighting. Let's go ahead and, like I said before, sort of do the things that I know. Do the things that I'm certain of. That's not right. So this should be anchored to the bottom with the pivot in the middle. So we can say 0 and it will be dead in the middle. And we shall do the same for this one. Pivot is at the bottom. Anchors at the bottom, pivots in the middle. There we go, so it's exactly the same. And we can take, so this would be the hero button. Would be right at the top left. Pivot would be 0, 1. So that is furthest to the left, furthest to the top. And 20 minus 20. 0 on the Z. Always 0 on the Z for this. I don't know why it comes in not like that. And then we take these ones. And I feel like they're going to need a little bit more space. Okay, that's fine. Let's take both of these then and increase the width. So that we've got a bit more space. Shall we make them square? Let's make them square. That doesn't, no, yeah, of course that doesn't look square. It isn't, but this is square. It still doesn't look square, but apparently it is. These are 700 by 700. So we are picking everything we need to know about our hero, and then everything we need to know about our enemy. This one is here. These should be anchored to the top from the middle. So this would be anchored to the top. Let's take it from the top left. And so they would be about there. Is that 0? That's 0. Okay, I think that's a good spot, having that like at 0. So they're dead in the middle. And the first one will be -20. And then I think they'll go down by how much each time? By some each time. That's 180. And then I will just do it by eye. What is that distance? It is 340 from the top. And then each of them has their description. And there's space for everything. At this stage in the game, the hero faction panel is purely informational. So if that is, let's copy transform. Do that over here as well. Probably would have been quicker just to type it in manually, never mind. And then so that way, when we change the width of this, no, that's not right. I want it to stay hooked to the left. Never mind. So yeah, there's 4, and if we added more to the game, we can stretch it out, and then if we add yet more, we can kind of like, at that point, it's time for a redesign. So this will be set up for 4. And then I guess the headers can actually be, yeah, what is going on there? Because they should be, oh, it's because they're not actually like tracked to the middle. Okay, never mind. Let's put them tracked to the top as they were before, with them being like this. But then maybe the alignment should actually be like that. And then we have less to think about. This can be 50. Good to give it just a little bit of headroom, because it's not always the same in every language, in every language font. And let's keep the width again the same as it is. So I want to stretch it along, but it didn't seem to work. Okay, never mind. And we have our text describing the stage. We have our text describing our thing. So let's go in and grab. So this would be hero weapon. And this isn't a button, so it should actually not have the background of a button. Oh, that's the wrong bit. Button image. So we just need to make it clear this is not a button. This is a piece of information. That. Same with the factions. And as you can see, because I'm doing this, I'm not using prefabs properly. I'm kind of creating a debt for myself later. But you see, this really doesn't take very long just to grab all the buttons. And I could just type button image, but yeah. And we go with panel plain. Just to make it down clear that these are not buttons. Oh, they are buttons. These aren't buttons. These are buttons. These are things you can press. That's the universal language for you can press this is this outline on the back. Is that clear? Well, people will just click things until they find what they can change. And then leave a bad review for the game. I'm okay with that. No, don't do anything. And we want to take all of these texts. So in this case, hero. Yeah, all of these. Well, there's only one of these to start with. But this should be off black. And so should this. And the actual button, we don't need this text because that will be, I think that'll go below. We've got the picture of the hero and we've got enough space to have some information about it. Let me see that. Where is our text piece? Yeah, this should be as wide as a whale, 3 blusses long from its nose to its tail. So let's just demo this a bit. Let's take our hero button. Of course, we need to... Let's give it our Orco character. Okay, and so this is going to be flipped. There's no flip button. There is with sprites, but not with images. We want them actually to be... So if we go human, being, human... What is it? Did I name them? Yeah, so I don't know why it's blurry. I think that's just because it's too small. So we want this to be the right size. I can't remember exactly what the ratio is, but I think it's like about that. I want him to be facing the other way. We got our faction buttons. I think I will generate the factions at runtime. As in, I will use the sprites and just so that I don't just so that it gets the exact colors for the factions and so on. But this is a good enough visualization for now. So we see all of the information that we need to know about Sean here. So in this case, the image would be a sword. Have I labeled sword, or is it just weapon, human weapon? Like that, that'll do. Yeah, and it will sort of look like this. And yeah, the name is fine. So that's fine. Okay, let's pop this in each of those. And make sure the Y-pos is -10 in each case. There we go. And of course, the big old button. And I think I'll go ahead and use a shiny button. So let's take play button. So this is like confirming it all. Anchored to nowhere. Anchored to the center. 0, 0. Where? Is that this? Oh, okay, yeah, because the pivot should be 0.5, 0.5, and then anchored to the center, and then push down here, and then grown to sort of fill up the space, 400 by, let's say, 300. And it's a big old button. Big fat button. My first worry here is This is going to be a bit awkward with a controller. But I'm sure there are ways to figure that out. Like, for example, if you press R1 to get to this one, if you press left trigger, left L1. I'm a PlayStation, I say L1. If I press L1, I get to this menu. If I press R2, I get to this menu, or whatever. And yeah, like I would just have clear, and if you touch the controller, you would have clear button prompts telling you how to quick jump to each menu. Or maybe what I do is I just have the cursor being controlled by the controller, so that, you know, it's not super nice, but what I expect is that if you're playing with a controller, you'll do this setup with a keyboard and mouse. But yeah, we'll see. Not super controller friendly, this design, but it can be. Okay, let's take this big old button that we made, and both the image and the shadow image should be play, and it should be big old play button. So let's start with 200 by 200. Yeah. Could that be clearer, that this is the play button? I don't know, maybe. Green. Should we make it green? Like hard green. I don't know. But white isn't good enough, right? So maybe not hard green, but like half hard green. Semi-green. Yeah. Like that. That looks good. So we're quite clear. It's not the same green as the faction for the orcs. It is just a nice, solid, unmistakable green. A nice, solid, unmistakable green for go. And then it could be like, use the right L2 and R2 to change the difficulty, and then L1 would snap you to this menu, and R1 would snap you to this menu, and then you just have to like press down to choose your faction. So I press R1 and then down, and I can easily, yeah, so that'll do that. I should... So his one would be, I would make like a collection of, like, so here we go. So difficulty panel. Okay, let's start folding these up. So I think today we'll probably manage to finish making this in Unity, but I don't know if I'll finish programming it. Let's see. I'm a bit pooped today. I did a job interview this morning. I got the job, so that's nice. It's not a game development job, but it's a job, and it's the kind of job that will pay well enough and give me enough time to carry on doing this. So that's good. Okay. Should we do a quick one of these? Oof, 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 oof. Okay, let's do the versus button. Just put that here, and let's see again if that... There are better ways, like by using clever anchoring and whatnot. And yeah, now this is overlapping that. The random button's no longer applicable. I'm just trying to find a quick way of doing this. So there's the enemy panel. 570. Choose stage, and then the random button is no longer. And then does that still work at 16 by 9? Yeah, like it's a bit funky. I'm not gonna lie. I am not a UI designer by any stretch of the imagination. Like, it's not terrible. But basically what I've done is I've managed to get all of the information we need. And of course, maybe what I'll do is I'll look at this tomorrow and see that it needs fixing. But here we have it. You can pick your hero, blop, get to the hero screen, choose the hero, brings you back to this screen, updates all of that. I can choose, it will show me which faction I've selected, and later on that will become something useful. I can then click block, choose the level that I want. Oh, you know what? We do kind of want the random button. But what it would do is just randomize everything. So let's just do it, but let's put it in the top right. Exit button 20. Right, that works, doesn't it? So I can press the random button and it will just randomize all of this, except difficulty. Yeah, that works. And then 21:9 aspect. Does that look good? Yeah, I mean, what should happen is that they would get smaller. Like, so these would stay the same size, but would, okay, this is old. They would stay the same size. Let's put these at the top. But they would, so 21:9. Like, I would want them to keep the same sort of this image, but we would just stretch outwards to the sides instead. I know that can be done. It's just it does get a bit bloody confusing. So it would be a matter of taking this hero panel, this enemy panel, and if I said this is anchored... See, I thought anchoring it to the middle would do that, but what if I, like, just as an experiment... Okay, that did nothing. Changing the anchor there did nothing. But what if... So the pivot is like to the left and it is anchored to the left. I mean, you would think, but then it's this as well, min-maxing here. Okay, yeah, so this is where we could have a custom point. So we would say this is gonna be like always at 0.2 of the screen, and then if we do that, like it's just complicated. It's just quite difficult. It's why people get paid quite a lot of money to be a UI programmer. If you can figure this sort of puzzle out and make it work for any situation, you will have a job, probably. But for me, I just wanted to do what I wanted to do, and I think this looks fine. Goodies, baddies. Should we do like blue and red? I don't think so. That would be too confusing. I think this color is fine. This gray is fine. Choose the hero. Choose the where we're going. Choose the enemy. If that's already all set up, you can just press play. If you're quite happy with the settings as they are, you just go, come to this menu, press play. And if I press random, it's going to randomize all of them. And then we'll keep that random button up in case I wanted to go and press this, and then it will choose a random hero for me, which is already kind of set up. And then once I'm in a menu, it will randomize that for me. But these we just have to pick. We could pick a random stage. We could pick a random character. We can't pick a random difficulty. We can't even choose the friendly faction other than to choose the hero and the enemy faction. Screw you. You can't randomize that. You have to choose. Right? Is that okay? Later on, we might say that you would click a button here. I mean, what this is functional and clear. Is it beautiful? I don't know. I don't know. I think it's fine, though. I think it's good to move ahead with. If there is a better design that I could come up with for this, then I will at a later stage. But for now, at least the positioning, right? Because what we might want is just like a unified screen. So never mind all this versus crap. We just have a unified screen. So I mean, what would that look like? Let's try that out. So we've got this. This one's fine. This is kind of what we've made here. Close enough. What if we had something that's like hero? Like basically we would just blob these screens together, right? You still need to be able to choose allied factions, or at least at some point I want the space for that. You still need to have to be able to choose enemy faction. You still need all of these options. And I think like so blobbing them together, putting them all on one screen. Should we go look at some inspiration now that we've got something? Let's have a look at should I just go into the actually I don't have them all installed, but like Vampire Survivors level select images. Here we go. So in Vampire Survivors, we get a closer look, yeah. So yeah, you kind of click, it is kind of how I had it. You kind of, which I don't think is necessarily good, and I'm not saying Vampire Survivors did it wrong. I'm just saying that I think for a new game that is trying to get noticed, we can't make the same sort of slightly lazy design decisions. Yeah, you choose a character and then you've got a bloody tick box menu for the level, for the stage. Except that's obviously changed at some point because we do have this. I just think it's a bit all over the place. And we might have the different options of you don't just choose the enemy level, you choose the enemies that you choose the enemies that you're going to fight in the level, which is a challenge that the other ones don't have. And it was upon adding that I realized that we can't be clicking through lots of menus because it is just one or two too many. So I think I'm okay with this for now. So the next step is basically to try and cut what we don't need. So heroes button to transform will be off by default. So these are, and actually this should be empty. So these are transform, and so we should put all of this in a transform so we can easily turn it off. So root transform. And generally I like to just make it 0, 0 in width and height, just so that it's clear that this is just a container for stuff. And we will put all of this in there. The back button and the random button are universal throughout. This will always take us back. If we are in the hero select, this will take us back with the hero that was already picked. If we are in this menu, it will take us back to the start menu. And the random, if we're in this menu, it will randomize everything. If we're in a hero or if we're in another menu, it will randomize that. Difficulty stays here. Yeah, okay. And loading screen applies as normal. So we want to go into our lovely world of spaghetti here. And we have our difficulty buttons. We don't need to worry, but we don't have this anymore. This doesn't apply anymore. Enemy faction. This doesn't apply anymore. In fact, we'll need to do that properly. Are we going to generate that at runtime? I think best practices are that you generate it at runtime. What do I mean by runtime? It means that you don't. I don't define it here in Unity. I say when we open this menu. So actually we still need the transform. So we would say when we open this menu, let's just do it. When we open this menu, reset do we have a reset transform for each? Do we have a reset transform? We should have one. So like Unity doesn't have a built-in like destroy everything in this transform. So I have to go for each transform trans in enemy. I'm gonna make one. Reset transform. Transform. No, call it trans for each transform T in trans. Destroy T. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And so we just go reset transform, difficulty buttons transform. So yeah, we did still need oh wait, no, we're not doing it with difficulty buttons transform. No, we are just because that one's fine. That one's nice and easy because that it's difficulty. It's like it doesn't come up very often, but factions do come up fairly often. And if I change the color of a faction, or the sprite of a faction, or the name of a faction, I don't want to have to do that through in all the instances of it in Unity. I just want to be able to do that. So in enemy faction transform. So yeah, reset that, and then for each, and we've already got this faction in faction. There we go. That'll do. For each faction in, is that the only instance of that? No. Here we go. For each faction in the factions that we have. Where is this? Start. Okay, yeah, this is actually a good place for it. So let's pop that here. So we are setting up in faction list. There is no Y. There's not going to be a Y pos, but I guess we can leave that in. Is this indeed enemy faction? Enemy faction panel. Button 1 is at 100, so button 2 should be 260. Let's give it the extra space. So 260. So it's 170, not 160. And this won't happen. But let's just put that at 1,000 to keep the code there. This won't happen. The XPOS won't exceed 1,000. Because if it did, we would start a new row. But that's not going to happen. But I'm not going to delete it because we may need it. Okay. Yeah. And if it's locked, make it uninteractable, and there will be more to that. But we have generated our faction buttons. Okay, this needs to be in there twice because we want to do that. So we will, so this is a coding principle, do not repeat yourself. I'm going to make a code for void generate faction because we're using it more than once list. Although the easiest thing to do, in fact, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to do it like this. Just the exact same thing, but for allied faction. And that doesn't exist yet, so I will make that exist. And this would be not faction button prefab. What did I just do that? Okay, so and let's put this in brackets just so that we can collapse it, as long as that doesn't ruin anything. Yeah, I don't think that'll ruin anything. And we are not looking to instantiate. No, that doesn't exist anymore. I just deleted it. Ah, okay, yeah. Get rid of that. Yeah. That's fine for now. Yeah, that's, I mean, this would just be factions. Like that, that's fine. Selected enemy faction. Well, see, that is going to become a list, so I'm not going to bother messing with that now. We don't need to like say which is the friendly faction, because by the time that comes up, it would be a list of friendly factions rather than a single one. Otherwise, it will just be determined by the hero. It's whatever faction the hero is, that will be the selected friendly faction. So this is just this. And this is also just this. Okay, difficulties. Yeah, we do. No, but we're not generating it. Oh, maybe we should. Should we just leave that? Because basically, it's turning them off. It's turning them on if we have that difficulty unlocked. So yeah, actually, I think we will just keep that. So we'll keep generating that at runtime. There we go. Yeah. Okay. It's late in the day to be doing stuff like this. And if you've heard me say this before, piece of advice is don't code when your brain is not feeling fully good, because you will make mistakes. And it's better to do something else when you're in this state. This all stays. But you know, this is not like difficult stuff. Select hero. Yeah, so when we selected a hero, I mean, I should just do this line by line. So when we load, yeah, set up these buttons, do the unlocks. Yeah. Yeah, so that's unlocking things based on things that we've paid in the game to unlock, as in the things that we've spent magic beans to unlock. We now have them. And when we press random, if the hero buttons, the stage buttons, enemy factions buttons transform. See, that's a different thing now. That's not its own menu. That is always going to be open in the root menu. But just using this, we want to say the root transform, which I haven't defined yet. The root transform is open. Then random press would do like random everything. But I'm going to make that not a feature for the moment. Because what that should do is just randomize the player, randomize the hero, and randomize the level. But I don't want to do that yet. Some funny noises happening in my stomach. I'm not hungry, I think it's just stuff moving around. It's just because that's what you came here for, to hear about that. Okay, so this is what happens when we press random. If we are in there, do that. And so if we have, then select a random hero and select that hero. So select hero, what does that do? Select hero, selects our hero, unselects the thing we have for controller usage and whatnot, and then root buttons transform. Root transform becomes true. Yeah, so this is almost correct. Hero buttons turns off, and root transform becomes true. And we set header text. Okay, let's just quickly do that for here as well. And random button can stay on. And so that is the same. Okay, let's go back to where we found that. So if you select, and so we know what random here, random enemy faction does not exist anymore. I actually believe, wait, let's keep that. Like, this is totally different. That's totally different, but that's fine. Okay, I'll leave that error in there. That's also fine. So if you press random and the root menu is open, root transform, then random hero and random stage. That works. Okay, let's set root transform up. You see how we're just like, it's like pulling apart a yarn. It's like untangling some wires. You sort of do it piece by piece. So this will just be a generic transform that appears on its own near the top. Root transform. Should be a panel, really. Okay. So, random button. Because basically what it will do is it will select a hero, and then it will... One thing we need to put in select hero is to display that information there. So let's put that as a comment, as a to-do. And I can just kind of do a Control F to find all the bits that I have to do. Display hero info at root menu. And then the same again here. Display stage info at root menu. So that would be set this image to the image of the hero we've chosen, and set all of these to the items of the hero, and set the faction to the faction, and set set and then also enable, so let's disable enemy faction panel buttons. So that would like do whatever. So if I picked a human character as my friendly faction, you should now look at the enemy faction And if it's the same one, then make it not the same one and disable it. And disable that button. Okay, here we are setting up the heroes in the hero button transform. This should not change at all. This is setting up the stages in the stage transform. That should not change at all. This should... enemy factions button transform should set up the faction buttons for both friendly and enemy factions. So I'll just swap these. Just, I think, so we're reading from left to right. Difficulties, unlock them. They're already set up, but just unlock them. Or like unlock the buttons if that is unlocked. This is for the controller stuff. So, and it's a horrible spaghetti if-else loop. If the hero buttons is true, then and if nothing is selected, and I move the controller left stick, then select the top left one. Same with the stages, and so we would need one of these for so if enemy factions, well, that's never going to be true. I mean, that's always going to be true, so it's pointless. If difficulty buttons transform, that's also the same deal. That's not its own window anymore, but we do have the root transform. And if we press a button and nothing is selected in the root transform, then we should select the hero. Oh, what's this? Oh, thank you, babe. The select hero. And then this would be something I need to set these up. So like the hero button. What are we calling that? Hero button. Hero button. So let's set that up. So we have our root menu, and we have button. I think it's private button. It's a new thing to me. This whole serialize it and serialize the button and make it private. That's fairly new to me. Usually I just make it public, but apparently this is better. It's less prone to bugs, more optimized. So private button. No, where am I? Button hero button, and then we've got a whole bunch of new things there. But in terms of buttons, so all those buttons are generated. All those buttons are generated. All those buttons are generated. What do we have on this screen that is not accounted for? Difficulty buttons have moved. This button, and so what we need is private text hero info text public, and that's a button. Is it a button? No. Image hero weapon image text hero weapon text, and then we do that for the ally and the talent. Ally. I'm just wondering if my wife, because she watches the stream sometimes, I wonder if she heard me say that my stomach was growling, but then missed the bit where I said it's not because I'm hungry, and brought me crisps for that reason. Oh well. Because I'm not actually that hungry, this is just pure greed. So we have weapon, yeah, upgrade image and text. We have hero, button, and we're also going to need image, hero, button, image, but everything else will stay the same. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. I was just going to say maybe we change the background there again. So I'm just going to go and put this before each of these. Seems like... I feel like this is the kind of thing that could be inbuilt into Unity somehow. Like, or into C#. Like, can you not just intuit what I've got here? And then I can just write text or image, and then you figure out if I'm using it again later or if it should be private or serialized or whatever. These are Fairfield Farm cheese and onion crisps. They're very good. They sell them at the local co-op. I don't know if everyone gets Fairfield Farm, because I think it's one of those sort of localish things. I don't know. Fairfield Farm is probably in Uganda or something like that. It's in India. And they call it Fairfield because there's no rules against giving it an English-sounding name. Okay, cancel. Yeah, exit. Yeah, okay, so that's just saying do this if we cancel. And this is saying make the cursor visible if we move the mouse, and make it invisible if we move the analog stick. So we have to have something for select hero, select enemy faction. We're also going to need a copy of this for select. Yeah. And it doesn't need to be public. And this would be the same. Select allied faction. Select difficulty is easy, but load scene, no. Highlight the, or yeah, set button visual to pressed in each case. So what we would do and unset all the others. So we would say like for each transform trans in difficulty buttons transform trans.get button equals trans.get component button. So we're saying for each button in the buttons transform, button dot select. No. So like we need a new button dot highlighted. So we are saying highlight button dot highlight button dot like is there like an automatic highlight? I'm not sure there is. It can be selected, but I don't want to confuse that with like, so how do we show that a button, that one of these has been selected? So if we look at our difficulty panel, how do we change the look of the button to make it look like it's been selected? Oh, and one thing I wanted to do, sorry. Just before I forget. Shiny button. Is that better? Is that better? Is that better? I don't think it's better. Well, anyway. Maybe we can improve what a shiny button looks like. I mean, this is one round of like improvements, but I think eventually we can really improve the look of all of these. So we would take all of our buttons and make them a bit nicer, a bit more animated, and make the shiny ones like actually animated shiny. And I would do that through the prefab so that it would just apply to all of them. Anyway, tangents, tangents, tangents. Where was I? So what should it look like when a button... Where is it? Transform difficulty button. So we have selected a difficulty. We have highlighted, but I think that's basically like the same as... Yeah, like highlighted. And do we have that animation? No, hover, press, disabled, which is basically selected. Selected is the same as hover. So I could, there's a couple ways I could do this. One is I could plug into this animation system and add one for highlighted, which is already there, where it would look a bit different. But I think that might actually just be quite a bit easier to do at runtime by like this. So we would take our button image and we would say that's the one you've got selected. Is that our only... Yeah, I mean, that works for now. We can change it later, but the point is that we are switching to another sprite when that happens. We could say go to another animation, but that kind of causes more problems because it means that I have to do all the connections now, and I have to... I just think this is going to be easier. So button... So do we have here... Sprite, button, image, sprite, button, shiny. And serialize private at the front. There we are. Button dot. We need. So button. I mean, so what I could do is, I need to access the button image. And dot get child. Let's go just button dot. Transform dot find button image. Okay, component. This is not the best way to do it, but it really doesn't matter. Image. So get that image. Button dot find image. Sprite equals button shiny. But this is actually the wrong way around. So it should be button standard. Okay. Where was I? Okay. For each transform transient button, and then so we should make one. Do you see how spaghetti code happens? This is how. go. And then this would apply to all of them. And then we want to say difficulty button transform get child. Can we go, yeah, index, so 0 would be dot transform. That was already going to be a transform. Is that right? Get child is a transform, yeah, dot find child. It's the same here. Dot find button image dot sprite equals button shiny. This will do it. It's not the best way to do it, but this will do it. Really not the best way to do it, but it's fine. Was it the quickest way? I don't know. Was it the easiest way? I don't know. Was it the way I did it? Yes. It's all about kind of managing your mental energy as well. That's 3:10 already. Okay. We can do this for a bit longer. I think I'll get as far as the simple bits. So when we select a button, when we select a difficulty, then you shall make all of the buttons not selected, but then the one that is selected should look shiny or something, but it will be clear that this one is highlighted while the others aren't. And yeah, we'll just hold off on this. So this is the problem area. This is the bit that I need to do a lot. Set header text. Yep, this one's nice and easy. Difficulty buttons transform, no. That's not a thing anymore. Although we'll have to have one for the root menu. So let's just use that as a container for root transform. Then what would it say? Like set up game. Game settings? What would it say? Yeah, game settings. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to bother translating it. Game settings. And then if the stage button, choose your stage. This isn't the thing anymore. That thing I just did the other day. Not a thing anymore. This is why I don't go too hard and do everything properly and fully optimized, because it may well change and it's difficult to tell in the moment what exactly will change and what won't. So hero buttons transform, then choose your hero. Otherwise, if the root transform is open, tell me that it's game settings, and if the stage buttons transform, then do that. Okay, and then load scene is just a little wrapper I have for that. Exit. If the hero button's transformed, acts of self is equal to true, then no, then we simply switch off. So we'll do something similar to this. So we will switch off hero buttons, and we will switch on root, and we will select hero button. if stage, so if we press exit and this is open, then this, but we just go root. And also this will be hero button. Enemy factions, that's not its own window anymore. Difficulty buttons, that's not its own thing anymore. But let's use that as a wrapper for if the root menu. And of course this should go at the top, because otherwise it will like if this happens after, then it would be like, oh, okay, well now this is open, so let's return to the main menu. And if we are in the root transform, then we load scene title screen. So then we leave. And in each case we set the header text. I mean, let's just be a little bit more proper and do this and this and return. Return. Load scene. Okay, let's do that then. Okay, so the bits that we need to fix now, select hero. So when I select a hero, we return to the root menu and we say that the hero image we're talking about the hero button then. Hero button, what was that? Hero button. Hero button image dot sprite equals selected hero dot sprite. Selected hero, is that a string? It is. How stupid. Selected hero dot. So when we opened okay, I get that. So we need a getter for heroes. We need a getter for heroes. Ah, Safam. I can see you there, Matthew. Thanks for joining. Matthew's an old friend of mine. Thanks for joining me. Yeah, hard at work trying to figure this stuff out. It's not too difficult to figure out, but it's just fairly tedious work, and my brain hurts because it's nearly 3:30, and I'm nearly 40, so my brain hurts around this time. I'm a bit lethargic. I had a busy morning. Where was I? You made me lose my place, Matthew. Don't worry about it. Okay, yeah, so I need to say, I need a getter for heroes. Because I could, so this is what I need to do. I need to go for each hero in title screen dot heroes. If hero dot names in English is the same as hero name, then, or selected hero, let's say. And you see the spaghetti is beginning. This spaghetti leads into another piece of spaghetti, and you try and pull one piece of spaghetti out your bowl, and then the whole bowl comes out. This is not the best way to kind of say. If that hero is the name is this that of that, then hero button image dot sprite equals hero dot sprite. But what I ought to do is have like a thing, and I don't know if you're still watching, Matthew, but let me show you. So I'll take this and I need to go to where I made the heroes. In this case, that's title screen, but I should have my own script for heroes, and I can make something called get hero, right? Public static, and static means I can get it from anywhere. Get hero, and then that would feed in a name, hero name, and then I do this. I go for each hero in heroes, and then it's got to be. I'm going to copy it from. I'm going to copy it from here. Get weapon. It's going to be like this. I've been doing it for a while. I don't know my stuff. I know how I do it. It's not necessarily the correct way, but I'm kind of learning. So we have this thing, yeah, and I want to say, oh yeah, so public hero get hero, and I'm just kind of copying from here, and then I guess I just say return null, which means that like if you didn't get anything, return null, and if the name is equal to the thing that we put in here, then that is it. Return hero. Yeah, and just to make it homogeneous, I'll put it here. So then that's the same as this. So then what I can do is anytime I need to get a hero, just in case I need to do this again one day, anytime I get a hero, I just go, I don't do that, I go title screen dot get hero. Okay, I do need to make it, don't know if that'll break it, but title screen dot get hero static means I can kind of get it from anywhere. Title screen dot get hero, hero, selected hero. Then if I get a title screen, then that will do that for me. And so the image sprite would be hero button.image.sprite equals that sprite, and then I don't need to do any of this. And you see how that's one line, whereas before it was like 5 lines. But I didn't really need to do that, but that's how you're supposed to do it. And it should be like heroes in its own thing, but I'm a bit messy. So hero, I'm just going to space this out so I know which bit I'm working on. Hero button image.sprite equals title screen get hero selected hero.sprite. So yeah, the sprite becomes that. And then we're kind of doing all of those bits. So we're saying here's hero weapon image.sprite equals... Shit, where is that even set up? Oh god, that's on the prefab. How do I do that in the... Because we have the same thing in the options menu. We say here, and then there's like an encyclopedia dot weapon dot upgrades. It's upgrades, isn't it? In hero select so like we've got this encyclopedia thing. God, that's so much code just for the encyclopedia. Right here, we've got this. It's just because the rest of it's folded up. We've got this encyclopedia thing. And when you click on a hero, when you press an encyclopedia button, if you press on a hero, open hero, and we say for each upgrade and their starting upgrades, make a new button. Oh God. It's going to be like that though. It's going to be similar to that. So I just need to like edit that to work for this. So we are saying, and I can kind of like, oh God, maybe I can't because this may change later, but like, okay, yeah, no, for each. So we'll do this at runtime rather than editing the images, or maybe we just do it by like its place in the list. So reset transform, no, never mind that. Oh yeah, no, let's. So we need to make a transform for these. So we have our hero panel, hero weapon. So yeah, we don't have, we're not going to have these, but we're going to have hero upgrades transform. And we are going to put the first one in there, and we are going to make its position 0, so that if we spawn something in there at 0, it's going to look the same. Like that. Yeah. Yeah, and the text is in there too. We need to make a prefab that is hero upgrade display. Original prefab is not a variant because it's not like the others, and it isn't a button. It's not a button. Cannot be pressed. Doesn't have animation. Doesn't do that. Just an image and some text. So we don't need any of this really. So let's copy that over to here. And then we will get rid of that. We will get rid of that. That's the one we keep. Because yeah, we have to generate these at runtime. We have the image, and we don't have a tooltip. We just have that. Hero upgrade display. And it would be helpful. I'm not going to make another script for it. I'll just access the children. So transform, yeah, so display hero info. So the image of the hero becomes the hero's image. Then we reset transform hero, and then we need to add that. So we actually don't have all of these. We have private game object hero upgrade display, and we have another transform, which is hero upgrades transform. Basically copying what I did with encyclopedia. The difference is in the encyclopedia, it's making buttons which you can then press to get to that page in the encyclopedia. So where were we? Huh? Oh. I shouldn't have deleted one thing too many. Button. You can see by the way I'm typing that my brain isn't fully working. And also, just before I forget, hero button dot on click dot. So what happens when you click on the hero button? At dot add listener. Here, open heroes. How did we open stages before? Oh yeah, so yeah, we should also do this. Stage button. Open stages. These are both new things. So open. So we reset the transform hero upgrades transform. Delete everything that's currently in there, and then for each hero, this hero, let's call it just hero equals title screen dot get this, and then we can just reference that hero dot sprite, and this can be referenced as it is. So we're saying we've picked up the hero we're getting, and then we're saying yeah. Did I really get rid of those? I guess I did. Hero button image. I could just look for a child in the hero button. It's probably actually better to do that. But hey ho, on we go. So hero in hero start. So upgrade equals. Do we have access to upgrades? Let's get access to upgrades. Means we need to copy that again from title screen and whatnot. That's fine, I guess. But yeah, now we need to be able to see upgrades in the same way that everything else does. So the upgrade is, so we have our upgrade that we're trying to show. We're not making an encyclopedia button. We are making game object hero upgrade display equals new equals instantiate hero upgrade display. Let's do that with the lowercase. And in the hero upgrades transform, and then hero upgrade display dot get child dot transform dot get child 1 and 2. 0. Okay, component image dot sprite equals that, and then equals the upgrade image, and then the hero. I'm going to the text equals upgrade dot descriptions in the currently language, in the current language, in the language that the user selected, to give me the description in that language. And if the upgrade is a weapon, then your upgrade display get component image dot color equals weapon color, and we'll get to that later in a second. Is that right? 170, yeah. 20, 180. No, that's 160. Yeah, 160. Encyclopedia button dot local position 0 ypos. The first one should absolutely no. Okay. Yeah, 160. Okay, and now what I want to do I should make a single script that has all of the colors. So color would be weapon color. So this is where we're going to store all of the colors here from now on. Just new color. And then somewhere we have in options we have the colors. These would be public, static. There we are. And then that's going to throw up errors because we want to say that equals colors dot, and of course I've used the correct spelling for color, which is going to be confusing to anyone who's not, to anyone other than me really. But there you are. I like using the correct spelling. Americans take the U out of color. And honor. And I think a couple other good things as well that you should really be part of. Okay, yeah, it's getting late for this old man. All right, yeah. So then we have those colors, and let's just start fixing errors for a bit. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Huh. Oh, what's this? Where's a list of colors and character select? What if I get rid of that? I don't think that's a thing. Oh, I think I know what that is, but I don't know if I still use it. Okay, so we are caught up with that. We dove into that rabbit hole and came out the other side. Now back into the rabbit hole that we came from. Yep, that should work. So we set the color of that like little box to be the color corresponding to the type of upgrade it is. So for each upgrade, set the image to that, the display to that. Yeah. Okay. And then what we need to do, select allied faction. Faction. And this is going to be similar to what we do here. For each transform in allied faction buttons transform, the button is the faction button there. And the button image becomes, no, that's the, oh yeah, okay, yeah. So that one, yeah, okay. And the one we've selected becomes the shiny one. But how do we determine which one? How do we determine which one? So what if we said this is an int then? Right, so select allied faction, and then so when we press the button of the faction, so I need to put in a note. Faction button, then yeah, turn all of the other ones off, highlight this one, and say that yeah, that'll do. Select enemy faction would be the same thing. We don't need to do any of this. We will select the enemy faction, but we don't change anything about the menu. So select enemy faction would be Yeah, enemy faction buttons transform, allied faction buttons transform, enemy faction buttons transform, faction int. Yeah, this will do. And we need to sort that out. Okay. So we need to say, so we do have faction button. Thank you for interpreting my bad spelling there. So when we click character select, select enemy faction. Okay, good. Okay, so we're going to want to say like int enemy or ally. Yeah, so it's like bool allied equals true if allied is equal to true. This is getting confusing. So when we make this, when we make our faction buttons, faction button, public bool. Okay. Select enemy faction, asks for an int. So we're getting the sibling index, meaning we're getting the number, and then what we can do, like this is getting a bit spaghettified now, but like I said, I'm a bit tired, so I'm gonna do as much as was reasonable. And then the faction we've chosen, so and this is just another form of spaghetti, but yeah, so we've got our faction int, and we are going to highlight the button of the faction that we've pressed, and we're also going to set the faction, selected enemy faction, this is the important one, is factions.get faction. There are other ways to do this, but let's just go enemy faction buttons transform dot get child faction int dot get component, yeah, dot get component faction button dot faction. Dot names. So we're like doing several with spaghettiing all over the place. Okay. There's vomit on his sweater already. Random enemy factions. At least that becomes slightly more simplified. And then back to here, open heroes, show me all the heroes, show me all the stages. That's done now. So then we can say, yeah, you know what, I'm going to call it there because I'm just kind of getting into spaghetti now. Like, I'm not finding the quickest route to the thing that I'm trying to do. So I'm going to come back with a fresh mind and the aim. And so I've done a lot here. There's a lot of progress here. And I've got my to-dos for every bit that I need to finish. And so next time, which I believe will be tomorrow, I will be able to finish programming this so that our new menu screen will be programmed, and I reckon that will leave us in a spot. Yeah, I've got a couple things, and then we're kind of just looking at playing the game and sorting it out and making it better. Yeah, thank you, Matthew. Yeah. Good shout to just at this point, because like this would be, so we've clicked a hero, we now need to do select allied faction, and then again we would be choosing this int based on the faction of the hero. Like, yeah. Cool. Cheers. Thank you for joining. Appreciate it. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. So yeah, thank you very much. Have a good evening. Goodbye.